Good afternoon. My name is Diane Frazier. My speech is entitled, What Difference Does It Make? Imagine your body resistant to disease. A flu virus is airborne and seeks a host to thrive in, but your body is constantly producing an antivirus because your immune system has been genetically modified to resist the flu. Is it possible? Does this technology loom over the horizon? Yes, immunizations basically work this way for specific diseases and viruses, but biotechnology has yet to manipulate genes in humans to ward off disease in the body. But they have been doing this to our crops for almost 20 years. Today I'm going to talk to you about our food. Not just any food, but genetically modified organism foods, commonly known as GMOs. As a matter of fact, specific crops that end up in various forms in our food have been genetically modified since 1996. I will explain what a genetically modified food is, why it was modified, and what specific crops are affected by this technology, and how they are in practically everything we eat. I will address the vision of the biotech company who started this process and state the reasons why advocates against GMO foods are asking for labeling of GMO foods to enable consumers to make their own choice. So, what is a GMO food? The World Health Organization defines a GMO food as foods derived from organisms whose genetic material, or DNA, has been modified in a way that does not occur naturally. For instance, through the introduction of a gene from a different organism. Now, there are different techniques used in traditional breeding and selection, and these have been done for centuries to our food. For instance, nectarines have been genetically engineered from peaches. The tangelo is a hybrid of tangerines and grapefruit. But this is not the same process. Now, there are two common genetic modifications occurring in food today. One is pesticide resistance and herbicide tolerance. Pesticide resistance is where corn, for example, produces its own pesticide internally to ward off pests and disease. Herbicide intolerance is where a plant, particularly soybeans, are able to withstand the herbicide that the farmer uses on his crops to kill the weeds. Sounds okay, just from the reasons and why they are being done. However, 90% of the crops grown in the USA are GMO of the foods that I'm about to describe to you. Corn, soybeans, sugar beets, from where some of our sugar is made. Cotton, from cottonseed oil, is derived from. Corn feed for animals. There are also transgenic varieties of rapeseed for canola oil. Papayas, 60% of those in the United States are GMO. And we also have varieties of sweet corn and yellow squash. It has also been estimated that 70% of our processed foods sold in U.S. grocery stores have some genetically modified ingredient. It's pretty amazing. So, who decided that our foods needed to be genetically modified? Monsanto and its subsidiaries are the brain trust behind GMO crops and developed this technology in 1996. According to their website, their vision and goal is the global challenge to feed everyone, everywhere. They produce the herbicide and the seeds. They sell it to farmers worldwide to grow the foods that I've already discussed. Now, there are many respected organizations, the World Health Organization, American Medical Association, to name a few, that agree that consuming foods containing ingredients derived from GMO crops is no riskier than consuming the same foods containing ingredients from crop plants modified by conventional plant improvement techniques, which would be like the tangelo and the nectarine. Are the changes today taking place in our food supply beneficial? There are some who, through years of research, have determined that they are not, and one such advocate is Jeffrey Smith. Jeffrey Smith founded the Institute for Responsible Technology and states on his website that you, the consumer, should be concerned. On his website and in a video calling consumers to march against Monsanto, Jeffrey makes an amazing declaration that says that the rise in human health problems is coinciding with the introduction of GMO products since 1996. There's an increase in allergies, gastrointestinal diseases, and other immune disorders. Now, the Academy of Environmental Medicine has a quote on Jeffrey Smith's website, and in that quote they state that they are advising physicians to tell their patients to avoid GMO foods because animal studies indicate serious health risks. Among other hazards, there are environmental ones that deal with the fertility of farmers' soil, and there's cross-pollination of GMO crops into other crops and also to farms that use organic methods to grow their food. Now, the FDA, who is responsible for the determining the safety of foods, has concerns with herbicide-tolerant foods because studies for toxicity have not been thoroughly explored. However, they have approved the sale of GMO foods. Intense debate has surrounded bioengineered foods, with critics arguing that safety data is lacking and potential human effects of consuming bioengineered foods have not been fully explored. Should foods be labeled that contain any GMO product? Many people think so. Several groups have called for mandatory labeling of GMO foods. In 2008, Brewer and Rojas of Agricola conducted a survey on food safety. 44.8% of consumers strongly agree that GMO components in food should be labeled. Washington State voters rejected an initiative that would have required foods containing genetically engineered ingredients to be labeled. But of that, 44% voted in support of GMO labeling. The Council on Science and Public Health on the labeling of GMO food states that bioengineered food has been consumed for close to 20 years, and during this time there have been no overt consequences. However, a small potential of adverse events does exist. These potential events are centered around horizontal gene transfer, allergens, and toxicity. The European Union has established regulation to label GMO foods. There are two sides to every story, and we've looked at both that involve our food. On one hand, respected authorities contend that GMO foods are safe for human consumption based on numerous studies. On the other hand, advocates warn consumers to not buy GMO foods and have linked the rise in certain disorders among humans to their introduction, demanding food be labeled so consumers can make the choice as it is done in European Union countries. Summer has come and grilled corn is on the menu. You sprinkle it with lime juice and some paprika and are ready to take that first juicy bite. It looks like corn from 20 years ago, but is it? Thank you.